Do you want to learn how to make hundreds of dollars every single day by leasing property for other people? If you do, stay tuned. Hey, what's up? Steve with Steve Invest, helping real estate agents, investors, and business owners grow toward financial freedom. All right, so let's jump in. First off, full disclosure, I just want to let you guys know that this is no way intended for get rich quick. This is a long-term play. It does take some time, but if you put the time in, you can definitely have the fruits of your labor and residual income from this. Quick story. When the real estate market crashed, my sister and I, we really had a tough time in terms of real estate sales. Our sales did drop down because, you know, there really wasn't anything selling at the time. One thing that really ensured our survival was leasing property for other people. Thank God that we had this in place. It was there when we needed it, and provided us easily six figures for the first few years, especially during that real estate crash. So I can tell you that despite what happens in your real estate market, rentals are always going to be there. And if you guys are representing landlords, you're always going to have this residual income. Also, you're going to want to watch this video all the way to the end, where I talk about exactly how you can make, you know, 20, 30, 50, even $100,000 more in additional revenue just by being a little bit creative and staying in front of this database of landlords that you have at your disposal. Now, there's two ways to go about this, and it's really going to depend on your state regulations as well as the brokerage you're with. The two different ways are tenant placement as well as full property management. Now, tenant placement is the opportunity where you really don't have to deal with the maintenance calls and issues like that and collecting of rents. You're essentially placing tenants and collecting, usually equate to 1 month's rent. This isn't necessarily the residual play that you want to get yourself into, but if your brokerage doesn't do property management, then you might not be able to collect rents and do full property management. So this is an alternative option for you. So essentially, again, you can collect 1 month's rent or whatever you want to charge for placing that tenant. You handle all the paperwork, the background check, the credit checks, and get an approved tenant in place, and your job is done. And we usually, on ours, we usually would have the tenant pay the first month's rent to our company. We get paid up front, and that's it. The second thing is full property management. Now, this is where in many cases you can charge the flat fee, 1 month's rent, or even a half month's rent. It just depends, and you can negotiate this, plus your residual management fee. Let's say it's 10%, 12%, whatever your market bears, but let's go with 10%. This is where you're going to handle all the maintenance calls, as well as collecting the rents, making sure that people are paying on time. If they're not paying on time, you're going to have to get involved. One thing that you could do to really alleviate time is to get a good contractor on your side, or even company that is well versed in handling maintenance calls and so forth. There's several local companies here that we use that you could actually have all the phone calls from tenants go directly to them, because a lot of times they're 24 hours, especially if you have issues with, you know, water leaks or HVAC isn't working. Stuff like that. So it's really imperative that you align yourself with a company like this, and then from the beginning you make it known that all tenants to call this company for any major after hours calls. And then also you're going to want to get permission from the owner and give this company permission to handle anything that's going to be, say, under $500. If it's over that, to call you directly to get further permission of any expenditures that are going to be higher than that. And then obviously if it's an emergency case, just handle whatever it is. Now, how can we get these listings? You know, there's a lot of landlords that need your help. A lot of times they try to do it on their own, and you know, they're off market, or they don't have anybody leasing their property out for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, several months down the road. And this is where you come into play. You know, your cost is outweighed by you getting at least out quicker, because you're going to be more aggressive, you have more marketing techniques, and overall you're going to go to open market where they just don't have that ability per se. So you're going to want to make sure that you do have a good presentation to present to these people. The one thing that we did, and it worked out really well, was we concentrated in areas that we knew that there were more tenants living in certain communities. So what we did was we would mail to absentee owners, and we would just get a list from Realist. It's a platform that you guys probably have as well, and you can find out all the absentee owners and mail just that list. So say a community of 300 to be narrowed down to like 50 people, that 50 owners that were absentee owners, that they might be using it seasonally, but odds are they're renting it out. So we would just keep them on a database of mailing them every quarter. That worked very well for us. Another thing is you can reach out to real estate agents who have listings, properties listed on the market for sale, say over 250 days, probably overpriced. Now you can call these real estate agents and let them know that you're in the business of renting properties, see if they'd be willing to reach out to their owner, to their seller, and see if they'd have any interest and an alternative and to lease their property out instead of selling it, or still keep it on the market for sale. In this relationship, you can offer that real estate agent a nice co-broke, or even the first month's rent or the flat fee that you guys charge in the beginning to incentivize that agent to go ahead and reach out to that owner. What does that agent really have to lose? You know, if you're on the market for 200 plus days, odds are you might not get a single dime out of it. So it's not going to hurt. It's also going to show that that agent is getting creative with that seller, and that seller should appreciate that. So this primarily works for properties that are vacant. Obviously, if somebody is living in the property, they might not be as much of a rush or whatever the case is, but vacant properties is going to be the ideal. So get on your MLS, search for vacant properties over 200 days, 250 days, and see what comes up, see how may come up on the market. Another way to get listings is driving around. I mean, you're going to see for sale or for rent signs in your local market, especially single family homes, and also you can concentrate in really any areas that you want. So your fees, your 10%, do you want to make 10% of $1,000, or do you want to make 10% of $2,000? So it just depends on your market and how much you want to make per deal. A lot of times the higher rent properties may be even easier to manage in your market as well. So these are some of the things you're going to take in consideration. But you can just drive around and find for rent by owners all over the place. There's also rent.com. You can get on Zillow as well and some of the other sites to find any owners who are trying to rent their properties out themselves. Give them a call and see if you can offer their services. I highly recommend getting on the phone and calling. You're going to increase the amount of properties that you're going to get in a timely manner. So, you know, if your goal is to get 10 properties under your belt in the next 30 days, you know, get on the phones and call. Based on this and based on the thumbnail that I provided, that's only based on 100 properties. All right, so let's run the numbers based on 100 properties. Let's say the average rent is $1,600 a month. 10% is 160 per unit times 100 properties is 16,000 per month. Over a year's time, that's 192,000 per year. That equates to $526 per day. Also, keep in mind this doesn't take in consideration the flat fee that you get for initially leasing the property to new tenants. All right, and another thing is a way to really generate more revenue for you guys is to stay in front of this clientele. Twofold. You want to stay in front of the tenants who are renting these properties. You know, that becomes part of your sphere of influence, and you're going to be able to see other videos that I have on that as well. I'll put some links below for you. So you're going to stay in front of these people. These people might be buyers in the future, so you know, give them a call maybe 2-3 times, maybe every quarter, and see where they're at. If you have 100 properties, that's 100 tenants that you're dealing with. You're going to get some sales out of it. There's no doubt about it. It's just a matter of staying in front of these people. So email them, mail them, get on the phone, and help them help themselves. Next thing is you're going to have landlords that are accidental landlords. They bought a property and they had to relocate, so they started to rent their properties out, for example. And many times they don't want to be landlords anymore. So you're going to have a certain amount of turnover that you're going to go ahead and list, assuming that you're staying in front of them. You have to stay in front of them to express that your team still does sales, real estate sales as well. And who's better to handle that than you guys, and handle the showings with the tenants and so forth. So I can tell you it's a very easy sale when you're staying in front of the landlord and they're contemplating on listing the property. It's usually pretty easy to get those listings, but you're not going to get them unless you're staying in front of them, because many landlords think that if you're a leasing agent, that's all you do, and you have to express to them that that's not all you guys do. Your team is well versed and you guys can handle the sales as well. Another thing is, a lot of these investors are move-up investors, meaning, you know, they might have a single family home or 4 single family homes, or a duplex or a small apartment complex. You know, you guys can handle all these. But anyway, they might be they might want to grow their portfolio. So it's very important to stay in front of this group as well. All of your landlords you want to stay in front of, but this group you want to, when you're first taking the listing, you want to sit down with them after you've gotten their properties leased out and show them what you could do for them. You want to sit down with them, bring them out to coffee or lunch, and talk about their portfolio, talk about what their goals are for their real estate portfolio. I've had many clients in the past that went from, you know, even a small fourplex to 50 unit apartment complexes over the years, and I was part of that. I was part of those transactions. So we had multiple transactions over the years for just one client. Also, you're going to want to educate them on 1031 exchanges. If you don't know about 1031 exchanges, be sure you get a local rep that can help you guys out. We have a handful here locally that will sit down with our client together, and we can all strategize and talk about it, because a lot of investors, they don't know that they can defer paying taxes on their gain and keep moving the growth of their portfolio higher and higher. So it's imperative that you guys stay in front of this group. If you don't, you're missing out on a ton of money. You know, I talked about the residual 192,000 off of per year off of 100 properties. You know, you guys could potentially double that if you're staying in front of the landlords, the landlords who want to grow their portfolio, as well as the tenants. So there's a lot of sales transactions that can come out of this. Also, those groups that I just spoke about, they become a huge referral source for you as well. You know, who do they know that's looking to buy or sell real estate? So again, putting them part of your database and staying in front of them on a consistent basis is only going to generate more transactions for you guys. Now, this might be a little far-fetched, a little far out there, but understand something. You don't even have to own the real estate brokerage in order to sell that clientele. For example, let's take the 100 properties bringing in $192,000 a year. You could potentially sell that clientele to another buyer. You can sell it to another property management company if you're burnt out and you want to move on or you want to retire. So if in the future your goal was to sell it, you know, based on a 3 times multiplier, 3 times 192,000 is $576,000 that you could potentially walk with. I know here in Southwest Florida, there's a lot of foreign investors as well that are scooping up a lot of vacation rental companies, which we're going to put a link for that as well, another video on that, as well as property management for annual leases. So that, again, you know, you could build something that's only based on 100 properties. You know, what if you built it to 500 properties and get a good team in place? You could potentially sell and, you know, walk away with a retirement fund in a 5-year period. Whatever your goal, whatever your plan is, you can achieve it if you really put the work into it. So, you know, to get to 100 properties, I think you could probably do it in 18 months if you're really putting your head down and doing what you need to do every day to procure more landlords. Another thing is you could look in your local market, talk to some business brokers. If you want to have a jump start, you might be able to find another company that has a portfolio that they're willing to sell, a portfolio of landlords that they have under management. So you can maybe start with 20, something smaller that's reasonably priced. That person might even be interested in holding paper, basically financing the business, financing the transaction. So don't let anything stop you from getting creative in this scenario. There's always opportunity, and there's always opportunity for acquisition. So look in your local market, talk to other real estate brokers, talk to other property management companies, talk to business brokers, because there might be plenty of opportunity out there for you. Below, you're going to find a step-by-step course on how to actually explode a property management company. I'm going to put the link below for you guys. As always, if you found this information useful, hit the like button as well as subscribe, because we're going to provide more videos coming at you every single week.